He was given an order. But orders aren't always the right thing to follow. The words echoed in his mind, ringing louder than the orders given to him. Do the right thing. Jackson shook his head, trying to clear the thoughts that had begun to cloud his judgment. But it was too late. He was already beyond the point of no return. He took a step forward, pressing his hand against the cool glass of the partition, his breath fogging the surface. He could see the subtle twitch of her lips, the faintest sign of gratitude. He was supposed to be the one carrying out justice, but now, in this moment, it felt like she was the one showing him mercy. A mercy he never thought he'd need. But Jackson knew one thing for sure. No matter what came next, he wasn't going to kill her. He wasn't going to follow orders. Not this time. He turned away from the glass, his decision made. His conscience was clear. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hall behind him, the voice of his commanding officer calling him back to duty. But Jackson didn't turn around. He'd already made his choice. This time, there would be no execution. Only freedom. Jackson stepped away from the control panel, his heart pounding in his chest. The decision had been made, but the weight of it lingered. He knew that what he had just done could cost him everything. His career, his reputation, maybe even his life. But as he turned toward the door, his mind was already focused on the next step. He couldn't waste another second. He had to act, and he had to act fast. Yara was still in the cell, waiting for him. Waiting for a decision that would change the course of both their lives. He approached the security door, the soft hum of the lock clicking open at his touch. As the door swung wide, Yara stood up from where she had been sitting, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. There was something in those violet eyes, something more than the exhaustion and the resignation. It was trust. It was hope. Hope that he would do what no one else would. The air between them seemed to crackle with the tension of what was to come. Jackson stood still for a moment, studying her. He wasn't sure what he was expecting, fear, anger, even contempt, but instead, there. Sense of purpose, a new reason to keep moving forward. They weren't just running from something anymore. They were running toward something. Together. The night was cold, the kind of cold that sank into your bones and made every step feel like it was dragging you down. Jackson kept moving, his pace steady, but his thoughts raced ahead, faster than his legs could carry him. They had managed to escape the holding facility, but now what? He didn't have a plan, not really. He had no destination, no idea where to go. All he had was Yara by his side, her presence both a comfort and a reminder of the danger they were in. The weight of their situation pressed down on him with every step they took. They were fugitives now, and the odds of them making it through this alive were slim. The world they had left behind wasn't kind to people like them, people who chose to go against the system. He glanced at Yara, her alien features barely visible in the low light of the moon. Her violet skin shimmered slightly, a stark contrast to the darkness that surrounded them. She moved gracefully, her steps light, but there was a weariness in her eyes that Jackson couldn't ignore. She had been through so much. She was a prisoner once, and now she was free, but freedom came with its own set of challenges. Where are we headed? Yara's voice broke through his thoughts. She had been quiet for the last few minutes, but now her curiosity was clear in her tone. Jackson paused for a moment, taking in the vast emptiness around them. The city was far behind them now, the hum of its machinery and the bustle of its streets a distant memory. They were alone, in the wilderness, with no one to rely on but each other. I don't know, Jackson said honestly, his voice low. We'll figure it out. One step at a time. Yara nodded, accepting his answer, though her expression didn't change. She had grown accustomed to uncertainty, to the constant shifting of her world. She had learned to survive, to adapt. And now, with Jackson at her side, she had hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, she could have a life beyond the chains of war. They walked in silence for a while longer, the sound of their footsteps the only thing breaking the stillness of the night. The air was thick with the scent of the forest, the earthy smell of pine and damp soil filling their lungs with every breath. It was a stark contrast to the sterile, metallic scent of the facility they had just escaped from. Jackson looked over at Yara again, his thoughts shifting to the future. They didn't have much, just the clothes on their backs and the small supplies they managed to gather in their haste to leave. But he knew they had something more than that. They had each other. And for the first time in a long while, Jackson felt something stir inside him. A sense of purpose. He He wasn't just running away anymore. He was running towards something worth fighting for. He had made the choice to save Yara, but now he was making the choice to protect her. "We'll make it," he said, more to himself than to her. "We have to." Yara's voice was soft when she replied, "I believe you." Jackson felt a surge of something he couldn't quite place. Determination, maybe. Or was it just relief? For the first time since all this started, he felt like he was on the right path. But the road ahead would be anything but easy. They didn't know where it would lead, but one thing was certain. They couldn't turn back now. The world had already changed for both of them. There was no going back to what they had before. Only forward, into the unknown. The first light of dawn broke through the trees, casting long shadows on the ground as Jackson and Yara made their way through the dense forest. The chill of the night still lingered in the air, but the rising sun promised warmth, a welcome change from the cold they had endured since their escape. Jackson's eyes scanned their surroundings, every rustling leaf and snapping twig making his senses tingle. The silence of the forest was unsettling, as if it were waiting for something to happen. Yara moved beside him, her quiet steps almost lost in the soft crunch of leaves beneath his boots. Despite the cold, despite the exhaustion that weighed them both down, there was a quiet strength in her presence. Jackson felt a pull to protect her, to make sure they both made it out of this mess alive. He had made the